Welcome to Late Night Riders. On this episode, we talked with Juci Somogyi.
She is so interesting. She has such a good outlook on the horses and the training that she does. I think you need to listen to this because it's not what you would think it would normally be in just training. There's more to it. And she's looking at the biomechanics of what goes on between horse and rider. I think it'll be a good episode for everyone to listen to.
Stay tuned for the canter banter because we have a very enlightening conversation.
You'll like it.
If you'd like to contact her, her email will be in the show notes. So enjoy! Welcome to Late Night Riders. I'm Gretchen, and I'm joined by my mom, Kristen, my grandma, Debbie, and Juci. Could you tell us...
Hi, Juci.
Yeah, could you tell us a little bit about how you got into horses?
I would love to. Honestly, I think it was partly in my genetics. I think horses are in my DNA. I'm Hungarian, and Hungarians have been always horse people. And when I was 5, I started my riding lessons, and I got my first horse at 11, and it's just been nonstop since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. I grew up on the East Coast, and even when I lived in New York City, I worked at Claremont Riding Academy and rode at Central Park. And then when I moved out west, my professional career really began. When horses are in your blood and that's what you love to do, you just can't help it.
Did you have a specific discipline that you started with when you were 5?
A specific discipline? I mean, I really enjoy working with jumpers. I like making those horses jump really well. I love dressage horses. But really my main focus is just getting people to understand what their posture is supposed to be doing and how they affect their horse, and just make the horses' lives easy. And when you're sitting on them, we should be easy to understand for them.
So how did that come about? Were you asking for a pony or a horse growing up, and then they were like, yes, let's...
Like every girl that wanted a horse. I was always tall, so I'm 5'10" now, and even when I was 11, I was still quite tall.
Wow.
So I never really went the pony route. So my first horse was an appendix, and she was about 15.3, but a great first horse. And I don't know how I didn't kill her. Because you don't know anything at that age, and I did everything. I was fully responsible for her care, before school, after school, everything, feeding her, and somehow she lived a ripe old age. And I always wanted a horse as long as I can remember.
Now, were your parents, once you got into it, were they always at horse shows, or was it more of an independent thing for you?
Not even close. It was definitely my road to independence was working with the horses.
Wow.
So they supported me in the fact that they got me a horse and they helped me pay for my horse's feed and stuff like that. But as far as supporting me at horse shows, I look at all of my clients now and all the kids. I'm like, you have no idea how lucky you are. Parents that support you and come and watch you and cheer you on.
So at what point in your career did you move out west?
I was in my late 20s, like mid to late 20s. And when I moved out here, I knew I just wanted to be outside and I wanted to work with the horses, and I found a job with a local trainer, a show barn, really great experience. And then it just kind of blossomed from there when I started my own business. I started my own business in 2001, actually. 2001, something like that, in Reno.
Okay.
What did your out west experience, what do you feel that did for you? Because I hear you talking about or also know your thoroughbreds, warm bloods, and then Mustangs too, I believe. But what, when you were out west, were you riding more, the same as you are now, or a little more into the westerny, or no?
Being out west, I think is just the space is so conducive to horses. Mm-hmm. So the East Coast is a little more settled, and the West Coast is still a little more wild in Nevada. Just this morning, my 5-year-old Dutch horse got out with a band of Mustangs. I had to go rescue him from a band of Mustangs. So we had Mustangs walking down the road. So it is kind of interesting to be in a land where there's still horses, feral horses that are free and run around, and so you see them in their natural environment. But I think being out west just has, and I love working with the Mustangs. I have several Mustangs in my barn, and I adopted a fully mature Mustang. It'll be 3 years in March, and that was an amazing experience. And he's turned into one of the best horses I've ever had in my life. Just I think being in Nevada, the space, the sky, I live in we have our facility in a place where we do have lots of pasture because we are high desert here, so it's hard to find lots of grass pastures, but we're fortunate enough to have a lot of grass pastures for our horses. I believe in horses being turned out as much as possible.
Oh, that's so nice. I think that's great because I believe that too. Our horses are out, but I think it's so good for a horse to be able to be a horse.
Yeah, absolutely. And I turn them out in groups. Even my horses that are high level competition horses, I don't put boots on them. They're in a field with other horses. And, sometimes it takes a while to figure out who gets along with who, but you make it work. And, the first time you introduce horses, you just have to be available and be there to watch them and make sure they're okay. But I mean, I have like 10 geldings in one pasture, and it's a 10-acre pasture, but they have, if they don't like each other, they won't bother each other, So, and if they love each other, they're always allo grooming and breathing each other. And I think that's an important part for them to be developed as a healthy horse. It's a big part.
Yeah.
Do you trail ride? We saw pictures of how beautiful,
Yeah, we go out pretty frequently. We try to go out usually at least once or twice a week with the horses, take them on hacks. We've got 3 different hacks that we are really easy to access from our barn. One's like a paved hill, so horses, if they have any tendon injuries, we'll go up asphalt. And then we have a sand hill that they have to work, and we just usually walk up the sand hill. And then we've got a long gravel hill that we can do anything, walk up or gallop up. So we just try to change it up for the horses a lot.
Oh, I'd love to ride where you ride. It sounds wonderful.
Do you encounter any of the wild Mustangs when you're out?
Yeah, we do. We actually do encounter them. Like I said, I just chased my horse down the street that was fully conversing with a bunch of Mustangs. But when riding, we've come across them. Generally, they don't give you too much of a problem. I have heard though that sometimes they'll kind of go after some of the other horses, but I mean, we want them to be scared of us. We want them to move away from us so they get into trouble on our lands. We want them to, well, I mean, the problem is that we're taking over their lands, right? So their space is getting more diminished, and we have to learn how to share. Humans don't share very well.
Now, how many horses do you have?
Personally or in training?
How about both?
Okay, I have 2 horses. I have a Mustang. He's 7 years old. He's a Silver Bay Roan. He's about 14'2", little guy, but built like a brick house. He carries me. I'm 5'10", and he carries me no problem. And then I just got a 5-year-old Dutch horse. That's really green. He's kind of like riding a wet noodle right now, but it'll get better. But he's lovely, and I want him to be developed into a show jumper. And then I have in my barn, I'm probably about 28 horses in training.
Wow.
Wow, my goodness, that's a lot. You have a lot.
It's a lot.
So with those horses in training, do you have like that many people that are with those, or do those horses also get used? Are they leased, or are they just each person has their individual horse that's in training then with you then?
Most people have their individual horse in training. I do have one client that she adopted 3 Mustangs, and she also has a quarter pony that we use in the lesson program. But it's mostly individual. But you have to have staff. I have a lot of staff helping me, because every horse gets touched every day, every horse gets groomed every day, every horse gets grain, they have food in front of them. If they're not turned out, it's a lot of work. So to take care of a lot of animals, you need good quality people around you to make sure they are getting everything they need.
Nice. And in your training, I know you've talked about like the biomechanics of horse and rider and so forth. So how did you, in the beginning or whatever, I know you said you took lessons and that type of thing. Um, was there someone that influenced you, or did you just kind of find this, yourself from working with the horses, or how did that come about then?
It's a great question because I think everyone's journey goes somewhere, and for me, it's a thirst of knowledge. I just wanted to keep learning, and you look at some point, you see your riding kind of peak and plateau, and then you don't really improve. And so I was always reading books. I was
Okay.
a book reader. Like, I want to read this book, and I found Mary Wanless's book on Ride with Your Mind, and a lot of her stuff made sense to me.
Okay.
And I remember, like, probably 8 years ago now, I just went on the website and thought, God, I wonder if where she clinics and where she teaches in the US. And I found she was in California. I'm like, well, that's not too far. And so I went and rode with her, and
Oh.
she was really very insightful, brilliant woman. Does a lot for just educating people that we are a huge influence on our horses, whether we want to admit it or not, good, bad, or indifferent. The
Yeah.
human body has an effect on those four legs. And when my clinic was over with her, I said, God, Mary, I'm just getting a taste of this. And she said, well, we're going to be in Texas for a teacher training, which means it's open to trainers, and we trainers work with other trainers, and and your training gets critiqued, which I think is very valuable. And so I got in touch with that organizer, and I showed up, and she looked at me, she's like, aren't you brave? And I wanted to, like, tuck my tail between my legs, because I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to join this group. And I've done several teacher trainings since. And I actually go to New Orleans next month to do another one with another group I've never met. So, but Mary's brilliant. So I wanted to be a better rider for my horses. And I wanted to make sure that my body didn't cause any ill effect on their way of going. I wanted to sit on them in a way where I knew they'd stay healthy, that I wasn't exacerbating their tendons, or, I mean, you go into a show barn, everyone's lame, right? Everyone's like, this horse is lame, or this horse. It's like, I would like to have very healthy horses, and we're part of that. And obviously, genetically, their conformation's part of that. But if we can do our part and carry ourselves in a way that makes it easier for them, that's what I'd like to do, and that's what we do.
So how do you go about like telling someone for the first time, this is how your posture should be, or this is how you're affecting your horse? What do you do when you have a client come to you in that first couple sessions of training?
One of my favorite things, Gretchen, to do is take photographs. So, and this is something that Mary Wellness, it's one of her tools, and it's a really great tool. And I'll just look at the person, I'm like, okay, put yourself in riding position, like, get ready to ride. And I'll take a photograph of them. And generally, their bum is out behind them, their foot's out in front of them. They're not responsible for their own body weight. And then I'll do an alignment. So I'll usually start with the pelvis, teach them where their seat bones are, teach them about how their inner thigh is supposed to be on the saddle, position their lower leg, and then position their upper body, and just kind of put some resistances on them so they know what muscles they need to stabilize. And to keep that, because you're riding a horse, you're dealing with all these forces on you. You got gravity, you got inertia, you got everything pushing on the body, and then the horse moves, and it's easy to topple or fall. You're not really in tune to your stability. And horses want us to be stable and still, so our aids are clear. If we're wiggling about or moving about, the horse is like, do I'm listening to that aid, or what's an aid? What's a bobble? And so the photographs are a really good, useful tool. And some people,
really can see it. Yeah, can see the difference with the photos.
Yeah.
You
It's
don't
very
just tell
telling.
them, right? Yeah, they can see it. And then, of course, when the horse takes off, I'm sorry because I interrupted, but as the horse goes, then you lose everything. When you're a new rider, you just lose it. Then you have to go back to it, but it shows them with the photos, which is, yeah.
It's really, I mean, lots of people get a lot out of it because they want to be better riders, or they've hit a place where they can't get past, or they don't know why they can't pick up left lead canter like right lead canter, and the body is a big part of it, where we influence those legs. So You know, if we do a good job stacking ourselves up in a good way, in a good alignment, the horse has a much better chance of understanding what the hell we're trying to say.
Yeah. I would even say to people who maybe don't have a trainer that you would offer as this would be a help, even just a small thing that would be, when you're riding, to just, you said, be sure you're not all over, like you're not jostling all around the horse so the horse can clearly hear your aids. Is there anything that would be helpful that you'd like to tell people that people just don't, maybe it might be a simple thing that they don't hear? Or
Yeah, I think they need to know that they're athletes.
Yeah.
And that when you sit on the back of the horse, I think a lot of people are married to this romantic idea of, oh, I'm being carried. It's like, yeah, you're being carried, but you have to carry yourself. And I mean, there's so many ways to go with that question, but I think the proof is in, does the horse respond to your light aid the same way every time? And a lot of people don't take that very seriously. So if you're in a good alignment and you're carrying your body weight and you know how to hold your posture, I mean, because really we're trying to influence the horse's posture ultimately. And out of that place, you should be able to put an aid on and recreate it. And a lot of people get on a horse and they kick it. And the horse remembers the last aid's the clearest aid in the horse's mind. So people are, why is my horse so dull? Well, you kick it all the time. So, you don't want to, if you're in a good solid position and you're able to just, be on a one aid, which is a very light aid, and be able to recreate that, I think that's a helpful thing. So if you're riding and you don't have help and you find yourself getting stronger and stronger and, being oppressive, that's not the right answer. Horses do not need to be strong-armed. They do not need to be muscled. They do not need to be kicked. You don't need spurs. They don't need whips. I mean, you can use a whip as a tool correctly, but most people don't really use them correctly. And it's usually coming out of their own, their own issues, not necessarily the horse's issues. When people get to a place of too much strength.
I'm sure you see with different people at different ages as well too. You've got, people who are either younger or people who are stronger, and then you've got people who don't assert, and people that maybe even at an older age maybe don't have the strength. I'm sure you see so many different things that you have to work with to help each individual person, because it seems to be so individualized, doesn't it, at times? I mean, just the basics are the same, your techniques, yes, but your people, just each one is so different, I'm sure, when you work with them. Yeah.
And you have to be creative, because I mean, if you have somebody and all you're going to be able to accomplish is walking and halting on light aids, or having the horse abduct and adduct a limb, that's all you're going to do. You're not going to take somebody who physically is incapable and set them up for disaster. You want to empower people and say, hey, this is what you're capable of. And then the proof is, and if they don't believe you, then you just take a video and say, okay, we have to empathize with the horse. When we're ready to, bridge, when we're ready to cross that bridge, we'll get there. But right now we got to work within what your means are and what your abilities are.
Yes.
Some people just want to go faster and jump higher.
That's right. Right.
Hang on. Let's wait.
Younger, sometimes they just want to go, and then you get to that place where you want to learn, and then you get to the place where you have to learn and get strong as you get older at my age. It's very varied, I'm sure. So
So you're very passionate about continuing to educate yourself. What have you been studying recently that has been interesting to you?
Oh boy, does the studying ever stop? I mean, that's really, for me anyway. But recently I've been doing a lot of studying with operant conditioning. And that's, I found Andrew McLean from Australia. He's an amazing man and has an amazing school in Australia. And I've been fortunate enough to take a couple of courses with him, and just learning how important it is that if we are going to work with horses, that we are doing things in a way that we make their lives predictable. We ride consistently. We know the why and the how and the when and the where. I mean, all those questions get answered with Andrew McLean, and so he's been a real. I mean, I can't say enough about how he teaches and his message. He also trains elephants, and the people that work with the elephants, those mahut, they're called mahuts, they are the ones that get killed the most. Or I don't know if they get killed the most, they probably do percentage wise, but easily. I mean, you piss off an elephant, they don't like it.
Yeah.
They don't like getting duped or people trying to rush them. And I find with horses, people want things done yesterday. They don't want to take the time to slow down the world a little bit so they can understand things clearly. And it takes time. And people are not really good at being slow and consistent with their horses. And I've learned so much with his courses. And working with Mary Walness, I still work with her. She's just awesome too. And so I feel like the older you get, the more streamlined you get with who you want to spend your money with.
Right.
Because, I mean, you spend your money with people and you're like, God, well, I just spent a ton of money and I didn't really get a lot of value out of that. And so you get quite particular as you get farther along in your field on who you want to endorse and who you want to learn from.
Do you feel like from a certain point in your life until now that you do see more people not being patient to take the time, or do you feel it's still the same, you have to slow people down and show them the process? Or do you feel in this world now it's a little, you have to deal with that a little bit more? Is it pretty much the same as what it was, just explaining to people that you have to have that consistency and slow down and listen?
Yeah. I think trainers get caught in a weird thing with their clients. The clients want to succeed, and so the trainer will put a bigger bid on and put bigger spurs on. And so you go to these competitions and you see these horses going around and they're not really carrying the outline that is really conducive for the job at hand. So it's hard, just to kind of see horses going around. You can see that, you can see the stress on their face, you can, and it sometimes it's kind of painful and you just have to kind of go around with blinders on. And then for some people it's a vehicle, like, oh, this horse is done, let me get another one. You've got the people that have deep pockets, but the horses are so cool and we can learn so much from them. And when you enter a realm of doing it because you care for the animals and you enjoy watching them learn, and then you're part of the learning, and how humans learn and how horses learn, and then you mix that together, it's so fun, and it's a whole different level. It's a whole different realm of horse riding. I've got a lot of my kids that love to ride bitless. They're like, oh, I just want to ride bitless. So we'll go to an A-level show, and I've got like 3 kids going around with no bits. And they're jumping just as high and they're doing just as well, and people are like, what? And then we do some barefoot horses. God forbid you don't put shoes on them. And obviously if they can do it, great. If they can't, they can't. But the horses that have really good integrity feet, you might as well. There's nothing like a winter here in Reno. I love my horses barefoot. I hate those snowballs. So it's just it's you can't put every horse inside the box, and I find that some trainers, they just want to do that. They want to make them a cookie cutter pattern, and they don't treat them as individuals. Just as I've learned just recently that in my instruction, every human is different. I can't give instruction the same way to every kid. Every kid is unique. Some kids can handle 3 pieces of information. Some kids can handle 1 piece of information. Some kid wants 50, so you have to be willing to address each human and each horse as an individual.
Do you feel at your clients that you have at this point, do you see as many younger people coming in, or do you feel that you have more of like the middle age or older, or how do you feel? Is that still, are you kind of across the board with riders coming in and that type of thing? Have you seen any change in that whatsoever with your people that you instruct?
I instruct all ages. You know what? I love, you know, the kids are great and they're super fun because they're at that place where they're just ready for everything.
Energy.
And I really enjoy working with people that, you know, used to ride as a kid and they're coming back to it. Like they had their family and now they're like, oh God, I really miss this.
Yeah.
So I don't really notice. Um, I think the flux of riders I have is pretty diverse. You know, I'm teaching somebody I haven't taught before today, and she's an older woman that's been riding her whole life, and I've never taught her before, so this will be a new adventure. But I mean, I don't know. I think it's pretty. I like all ages. I like teaching all ages.
That's really good that you have that, you know, range too, because I'm sure that's even a fun, I don't want to say challenge, but fun to address, like you say, the different ages. So,
Yeah, and there's definitely challenges to it, absolutely, but there's also joy to it.
right.
So I try to focus on the joy and not the. I mean, there's good challenge and bad challenge, you know. So
You try to, sounds like, balance out the work with trail or work with,
yeah,
you know, horses being turned out. Like, do you do that with the people, your clients as well? Do they, you know, get that too so that they understand it and see that the horse needs to be just
absolutely.
okay?
Yeah, I just recently had my hardest sell. I have a teenage boy and he's got a thoroughbred and he's like, there's no way he's a trail horse. And he just kept at it. And his horse would definitely get a little bit walking up, you know, a hill is fine. Walking down the hill is fine. But as soon as anything's faster than the walk, you know, that thoroughbred instinct
Yes.
comes like, are you sure you don't want to run? And so it was a little bit of a challenge to get the horse to understand that, you know, even though
Yes.
we're on trail, you still have to pay attention to the aids. And fine, like yesterday, he came back and I'm like, so how was your horse? And he's like, he was great. I'm like, excuse me? He was like, he
Oh,
was great. I'm like, all right. So, but it's
that's
taken a few
great.
months for him
Yes.
to embrace the hacks and embrace the trail
Mm.
rides. Because I think the trail rides are really important for the horses. I mean, I personally like going out and walking on the buckle, you know, and, you know, not that I don't like a good gallop here and there, but I just really enjoy, you know, just letting the horses walk with their heads long and low and
Yes.
just kind of be able to look at the environment. And,
Oh, yeah.
you know, if they get worried, you're there for them. You're like, no, it's okay. We're here. We're still together. But,
That's
you know,
great.
that's just it's a nice change for them. They need
It
a
is.
little bit of, I don't like being in the same arena all the time. We're fortunate enough to have lots of different spaces for our horses to work in. And the trail is definitely one of those spaces. Getting them out is important.
I just think that's so great that you do that.
I wish
I
more
wish more
people were
people
able
were
to do
able to
that,
do
to
that,
mix
to
the
mix
two
the two
together,
together,
because I think
because I
it's
think
good
it's
for
good
both
for
the
both
horse
the
and the
horse and the
rider. So
rider.
that's
So that's
wonderful.
wonderful.
That's
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, in England, they take their horses out in hacks all the time.
I
So all
know.
those upper level horses, you know,
I
they're
know.
getting out because it's not just it's good for their physicality, but it's also good for their mental state. You know, you want them to see the world. You want them to see a dog dart out. You want them to go by a car. You want a
Right.
bicyclist to go by. You can't
Mhm.
shield them from the world,
Right.
you know. And so many people, especially sorry dressage ladies, but so many dressage ladies are just they freak out if something's out of place. It's like,
Mhm.
well, it's life. It's gonna
Right.
happen. You might as well learn how to ride it, and you
Right.
might as well do it
Right.
again and again until the horse, you know, the
Right.
horse is habituated to it, and they're not fearful of it anymore.
Right.
We look at people, we have some people that we follow and watch from England and that area, you know, I say across the pond, and they're, you know, they do a lot of hacks and things like you're talking about, and they just live with their horses. It's so great
Yeah.
to see. It's an
Yeah.
everyday. I mean, they've got their kids on them all the time. It's,
Yeah.
it's just they switch it up, and I just love to see that. It's just so easy. You know what I mean? It's like not so regimented. It is, but it isn't,
Yeah.
and I love to see that. So
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, what does a typical day look like for you?
A typical day looks like running out of the house, getting to the barn around 8 a.m., trying to get at least one horse done before my 9 o'clock lesson. Then I have a 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12. Usually I have a lunch. And then I have a 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock lesson. And then somewhere in there, usually over lunch, I try to work another horse. And at the end of the day, I try to work another horse. So my lessons are like, my days are jam packed. They go by so fast. I can't, sometimes it's bad because it's hard to, when you're, everyone that's a barn owner knows they see work that needs to be done like 10 steps, or you see something before it's going to happen. And so it's hard when you're teaching as much as I do and trying to ride. I mean, I would love a little more balance. I've got great staff, but they don't like to teach as much as I do. I'm trying to get them on the, come on, you're a good instructor, keep instructing, so I can share the load of lessons. And they do help me sometimes, but I need more help with lessons so I can ride more. But the day is full. The day is really full, and it's a great day, but it's definitely a busy day. Which I think a training facility, if you're busy, I mean, I could have other problems. So being busy is not a problem.
So what's next for you? Do you have anything that you're looking forward to doing in the next year, or just more training, or? I'm looking forward to, I drive down to Davis, California, and I go clinic at my friend's facility. She's got a beautiful private facility in Davis, California. So I'll go teach there for a couple of days. I've got my teacher training in New Orleans to look forward to. So that's a Mary Wanless teacher training where that's going to be, I can't wait to go to that because there's so much you get, even though there's a lot of repetition. So I love the repetition also, like continuing, just making your foundation as solid as possible. So I love the eyes on my instruction and getting good feedback. So I'm really looking forward to that. In the next year, I don't know, just continued having healthy horses, happy clients. We like to compete. And we're not just a competition barn. I don't think that's the healthiest environment for our horses. But I like to, support my kids that love to compete and some of my adults and just keep trudging along and learning and not grow anymore. I'm done with growing my barn. Yeah. At a place where I'm like, that's it, no more. Well, thank you for joining us. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll enter our next segment, Canter Banter.
This podcast is brought to you by Ramm Horse Fencing and Stalls, the one-stop shop for your horse farm. Ramm is family-owned and operated and has been in business for over 30 years. We welcome you to call in and speak with an expert about your next project today at 866-653-8984. Again, that's 866-653-8984. Do you love horses and live the equestrian lifestyle? Be sure to check out our brand new blog at www.yourhorsefarm.com. We publish 3 posts per week and feature a free printable equine checklist every month. Yourhorsefarm.com is a great equine online resource, so be sure to share with all the horse lovers in your life. And remember, laugh much and ride often.
And we're back. On this segment of Canter Banter, we're going to talk a little bit about an experience with a Mustang. So, Juci, could you tell us a little bit about your client's Mustang?
Oh, I would love to. About 3 years ago, a client of mine, Leslie, adopted 2 Mustangs. And her property, not far from the barn, she butts up against a wild horse sanctuary. So she adopted the horses from a sanctuary. And we went and had to load up in a horse trailer 2 Mustangs that never have been on a trailer, so that was interesting. It was a great experience, and we got it done. And we bring the horses onto the property, and so we pull our horse trailer right into the pasture, and open the door, let them off the trailer. It was crazy. They sauntered off the trailer. I was really impressed. I thought, these are good horses. They're not doing anything stupid. And within probably, I want to say, maybe an hour, he was mounting her. And these are long yearlings. And I thought, oh God, I can't believe this is happening. I need to halter break these guys ASAP because they're untouched little Mustangs. And the gelding I thought I was like a little genius because he somehow was food motivated. And so I got his head in his bucket, and I put the halter on the bucket, and and then he didn't even care. And I'm like, oh man, I am so cool. I got this thing off the rope so fast. And then the little filly was just like, I don't care about food. You're not touching me. And so the mare was a whole different story. Charlie, he was still a stallion at the time. I got the halter on him. I got him leading pretty quickly, and I still couldn't touch the little filly. And so we knew, I'm like, okay, we need to castrate him. So we get the vet out, and the vet, we lay him down on the lawn, and they castrated him right there on our property. And they said to us, okay, watch out, because when they get out of their castrate, when the Mustangs in particular, when they get up, they stand up and they swing around. So they make this full circle. And she was explaining to me, which I never knew, that different breeds react to castration differently, which I thought was kind of fascinating. I'm like, oh, she's like, some horses get up and some horses lay there and groan for an hour. And she said the Mustangs always zip to their feet and they spin around. So they look at this. So basically what they're doing is they're checking their horizon for any predators. They've been down, they got to look for. So it makes sense.
Yes.
And sure enough, Charlie gets up and he spins around, and she's like, hey, I told you. And I'm like, oh my God, I think I know what I need to do with Danny. So Danny, I've been trying to halter break her. So I'd go and like corner her and like touch her and walk away. And, every day I might be able to like touch her a little bit and walk away. And so I realized my error. I'm like, I've been very human and being very oppressive. I'm like, okay, this is not working. So I went into the middle of the field where she was at, and she walked a full circle around me. She like circled me from every angle, and then I could touch her. And I thought, oh, wow, she just needed to check me out from all sides.
Wow.
And I just thought to myself, like, wow, that was really interesting, because it was so goes against, what we do to these horses that we can't touch. We want to like panel them and shove them in a place and force them to accept us. And when I put myself in the middle of the pasture, I just stood there. I don't know, I wasn't even that long, but she totally, when she went around me, and then I was like, oh my God, I think this is happening. And then she let me touch her, and the next day I could halter her. Like I became unthreatening.
Oh, wow.
So cool.
Wow.
That is really cool.
And see, that's...
And, I'm not sure what the science is necessarily behind that, but for me, I just noticed a huge difference after she saw me from all sides.
It's just one of those things, though, like you say, where, work with that horse, though, and give them the time to see what's going on with them, too. But what a neat experience to have had.
Yeah, it was a very cool experience.
Yeah.
That little mare, both those horses are going great. The little mare is actually quite a good jumper. She's been to several shows. She always does well. The little gelding, he's a super little guy. He's just, I taught his owner today on him, and I looked at him, I'm like, gosh, Charlie, you look so big. You're like a grown-up, It's like crazy watching these little guys grow up into, usable, friendly, easy to ride horses.
Nice.
That's cool. Neat. Really, really neat.
That is really cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to podcast with us.
My lunch break.
You need to get some food. Feed that body.
We hope you enjoyed listening to our podcast and encourage you to share with all your equestrian family and friends. You can tune into the Late Night Riders podcast show every Friday night. Each episode will be uploaded exclusively on YouTube, where you can subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with all of our latest shows. Do you have a topic you'd like to discuss? We want to hear from you. You may email us at podcast@rammfence.com, or feel free to leave a comment below. Thank you again for listening.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
It was a pleasure to speak with you.